President up and tweeting this morning on a big issue about Michael Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis, and that notorious Trump Tower meeting.
The president writing, quote, Michael Cohen's attorney clarified the record, saying his client does not know if President Trump knew about the Trump Tower meeting, out of which came nothing. The answer is that I did not know about the meeting, just another phony story by the fake news media.
So let's bring in Alan Dershowitz, author of The Case Against Impeaching Trump and Harvard professor emeritus. Welcome.
Thank you.
So what do you make of that tweet?
Well, that's a factual matter, and I think we'll learn about it. I think that, as I've said from the beginning, I think all the recent developments prove what I've been saying for several months. Number one, that the Mueller investigation is really not what has to worry Trump. The Mueller investigation has constitutional defenses, obstruction of justice, Russia, all of that. There are constitutional defenses. The real worry is the Southern District of New York, which is looking into kind of technical corporate violations, again proving that we didn't need a special counsel, that the real issues could be investigated and are being investigated by the Southern District of New York. They're the office that's giving immunity to the executives of the corporations and other people. And so I think any vulnerabilities that the Trump organization or the campaign has will be in the Southern District of New York and not in Mueller's investigation.
So on that point, Professor, then first of all, what do you think is the president's best defense in dealing with that? And secondly, how fair is that when, if all of a sudden you want to put down the full weight of any U.S. attorney in this country on any company in America, and they're going to go through every single thing you've done, they're going to find stuff?
Well, a friend of mine wrote a book called 3 Felonies a Day, growing out of the Southern District of New York's investigation. You can find 3 felonies against any major corporation. Look, the basic defense is to cut through the nonsense and say the president and the candidate had a complete right to pay whatever payments toward the campaign they wanted. Trump could have said, I'm putting $1 billion of my own money in the campaign, and I'm spending $100 million of it to pay off anybody who's accused me of anything. That would be perfectly lawful.
Right.
What they're trying to do now is parse that and say, well, all right, that may be lawful, but now we have to figure out how the money was paid, whether the invoice is correct. Did it come indirectly from the company or from the fund, or did it come from the president? If in the end, Mr. Trump, who was then the candidate, or President Trump afterward, paid the money from his own pocket, late or indirectly or directly, that's a complete defense under the campaign finance law. Now, the campaign may have a problem because the campaign was obligated to report expenditures, and if they didn't do that, then they may have a problem like the Obama administration had a problem. Yeah. They had to pay $300-something thousand as a fine.
So, Professor, though, I just want to press you because the other side of this, coming from President Obama's former solicitor, had a piece in the New York Times yesterday saying that it was a conspiracy that President Trump, as Michael Cohen pleaded to the federal authorities, that they conspired to not report that. Is that a challenge? Is there a possibility that the president does get charged on a conspiracy to not report?
I don't think so, but it would be a very conspiracy to commit a non-reporting offense. By the way, it made no difference because the reporting would have taken place if it had happened after the election. Remember, the payments were paid just before the election, and the reporting periods would have gone beyond the election. So, again, here, no harm, no foul. Look, there should have been reports, and the campaign should have reported it. But the idea of creating a conspiracy involving the candidate, why doesn't all campaigns then charge conspiracies? Because candidates run the campaigns, and if the candidates had any involvement in the campaign's failure, that would be a conspiracy. This is another effort to create a crime in order to target somebody who is unpopular. That's the problem.
Professor.
When you get an effort to target somebody, instead of just looking for the facts and let them unfolding.
All right.
So I don't think we're going to see much here.
Talking about the facts, this is happening in real time. So while we're talking here, the president's tweeting, and let's get some reaction. He says Jeff Sessions said he would not allow politics to influence him only because he doesn't understand what is happening underneath his command position. Highly conflicted Bob Mueller and his gang of 17 angry Dems are having a field day as real corruption goes untouched. No collusion. So twofold here, Professor. to the president's point, this started out as Russian collusion. We're going to investigate that. So they don't find that, and now we're talking to the National Enquirer. We're talking to Michael Cohen about taxi medallions. And on the other hand, we just had a former Justice Department official defending Jeff Sessions, and he was saying, well, this takes time to figure out what James Comey did and what Bruce Orr did. And I'm wondering, it doesn't seem to take any time to turn Michael Cohen's life upside down. On one side of this story, they're moving with lightning speed. On the Democratic corruption side, nothing to see here.
Well, they are moving very quickly. They move quickly against Manafort. They move quickly against Cohen because, as Judge Ellis said, they're trying hard to squeeze them, to get them not only to sing but possibly to compose. And, look, this is very reminiscent of the Clinton impeachment. Again, it started as a white winner, moved toward sex in the Oval Office, efforts to try to find whatever they could against him by Ken Starr. That's why I have been skeptical and critical of special counsel, special prosecutors. They want too much to target somebody, and they're willing to engage in questionable conduct in order to target the right person. And that's why, the president had a point when he said we should make it illegal to flip witnesses. I wish this president hadn't said it because he's self-serving. I've been saying that for 50 years. Civil libertarians have always been concerned about flipping witnesses.
I don't remember that.
Many libertarians are on their side.
By the way, I don't remember the Obama or Trump